videos of. Good evening, folks. Welcome to the TIMS section of the fabulous Acsom Charity Weekender. My name is Desmond, and I'm glad to say tonight I'll start with Monty over in Ireland, who's celebrating the Christmas feeling. Good evening, Monty.
Evening, Desi. How are you?
I'm fine, thanks very much. I don't know what's happened to Hector. He's suddenly turned into a white ball, like something out of the prisoner here.
I've got a face for the radio, Desi, as you know.
You got the old Mr. Incognito. Okay, so we've got Hector. Good evening, Hector. Hopefully you can join us on video at some point.
Yeah, evening everyone.
Excellent. And then up in the top corner, I'm hoping everyone's seeing this. We have Ralph Mouth somewhere, I believe, next to McDonald's, somewhere in England, Ralph. Are we interrupting your working day?
No, I finished about an hour ago. Hey, McDonald's just at the bottom end of Stafford.
Folks, if you've ever watched Crime Watch UK, see Ralph, pretty much he's in every second episode and they've still no caught him. There you go.
The hotline's fucking blowing up at the minute now that they've spotted him.
The fugitive. I like, and Ralph, if you don't mind, could you just put on the inner light that you did a while ago, just so people actually believe? There you go. So he does actually exist.
It's like a cell. It's like a cell now, isn't it? As if he's been interrogated in a cell by Benny Higgins. Controversial start to the show.
Oh yes. Well. Talking of people who should get to jail, this is a good. That may not be the most apt, given who I'm going to be talking about here. Thanks to everyone for listening in, and joining us and watching us on this great event as normal. We were meant to start 42 minutes ago between 5 and 6, but sadly it's been delayed, and John Paul has told me to openly call out a Mr. Thomas Sheridan and a Mr. Francis McGarvey, who apparently have the ability to overtalk and talk and talk. So apparently it was their blame that we are running late today, appearing on the schedule. So it wasn't our side and it wasn't John Paul's side. So let me just check the agenda that we've got, guys. We have basically Thursday's game and today's game, facing the third and fourth in the league. 6 points, but about 600 talking points. So let me start with you, Hector, as our resident tactician, not analytics tactician, this football tactician.
God bless them all.
What was your main takeaways from the last two games facing our big rivals, bar the league leaders?
2 victories was the most important thing, wasn't it? To try and keep momentum going. Just take care of business our side, and ideally do that all the way up to when we play them at Celtic Park just after New Year. Interesting enough, I thought against Hearts, the first half we played pretty well. And then the second half became a bit head-em-scarum. It was too wide open. And, for all that we should have won maybe 5-1 or 5-2, there was always that risk towards the end of the game that they may have equalised. Our goal, obviously, with Kyogo was what was he? Was he 400 yards offside now? Is that what it is? So from being a fraction, possibly, it's now grew arms and legs, so much so that those wanks at the SFA are now commenting on it, which is very unusual, as we know. They don't seem to comment any of our stuff over the years. So he was fractionally offside, probably offside. That seems to have grown arms and legs by the usual sources in the media. But get it up them. So 3 good points, ground it out. Then I thought today we were excellent today. Only bit of criticism, and it's harsh even saying this, was 1-0 in the first half. We could have been 4-0 up, 5-0 up. But we kept it going, and it was arguably our best 90 minutes domestically of the season. So really convincing and really good performance today.
Yeah, up to you, Ralph. I've just made a wee note. Hopefully, if everyone's watching and listening are aware of the eTIMS site, and Ralph writes a daily diary, eTIMS diary. And Ralph, I've just made a note here. Official statement following Ralph Mouth's Groundhog Day eTIMS diary, which he published the other day. The SFA confirmed that any sightings of Crawford Allen, the referee chief, may result in 40 extra days of media analysis for any Celtic players daring to score a goal. What was your take on it?
It wasn't offside. It was behind the ball and it was played. It's absolutely ludicrous, and what it does, it takes away the attention and gives us something to moan about, when in reality we've not got much to moan about. He's putting his team together, it's playing well, it's winning games, doesn't matter if it's 2-0 or 7-0, we're getting the points. There are games that we've played, certainly the Hearts game, that we maybe wouldn't have won last season. We're getting better, we're getting stronger, they're panicking, and that'll do me for now.
And Monty,
And I love
yourself,
how, but it is a Groundhog Day. It is. Everything's exactly the same. It's not an anti-Celtic thing. It's a pro-Rangers thing. It's everything is getting geared towards them, and everything's getting geared towards taking away the narrative from what's happening to them. It kind of depresses you, but we've got more football to watch, and that'll keep me away from moaning.
Yeah, and Monty, over to you. The turnaround, and we had a few forced injury, well, a few forced changes on Thursday evening due to injuries, especially Jota and Ralston, and then Welsh had to get taken off. But we had a few guys coming in today, and it just seemed to slot in quite well, especially Taylor just coming back, I thought.
Yeah, I listened to Ange's interview on BBC Scotland just after the game, and he talked about building that within the squad. That one of the things that's given him a lot of satisfaction at the minute, these guys are all busting a nut in the background, and to see someone like Scales being able to step in and seamlessly take over from a position that obviously Taylor had before he got injured, and the ability for that interchange to happen without disruption. He talked about that, giving him a lot of satisfaction at the minute. And he mentioned how hard everyone's working. And his ultimate goal is to have that if someone drops out, you be ready and you go in and it's seamless. So I think Ralph just hit the nail on the head. It's just a joy watching Celtic at the minute. Even Thursday night, wearing down the nails on your fingers, even though we're only 1-0 up, we could shade this one, but we didn't. And then today, which was just glorious. Some of the football today was exceptional. And again, you can't be harsh. We won 3-0. But even on BBC Scotland, which is never ever pro-Celtic, even with Pat Bonner on it, they were talking about 7, 8, 9-0 wouldn't have flattered Celtic. And from watching the game, I missed the last 10 minutes. I had to jump in the car. From watching the game, they weren't wrong. We missed a bucket load of chances, but it's just so good to watch. So I think that tournament's great.
Sorry, Monty, I was going to say, in amongst all that good football, what has to be highlighted as well is how good the central defence has been over the last number of games. So, and it's actually chopped a wee bit due to injuries and whatever. So you've had Welsh having to step in. He's been terrific in recent weeks. Beside Carter Vickers, then obviously Carter Vickers couldn't make Thursday. Starfield come back, and I thought he was outstanding on Thursday night. And then Welsh get injured again. So you've got back to Carter Vickers and Starfield. And I thought those two won absolutely everything today. And it's one of the balls, one thing, but also the distribution when they're getting it now. There's just that change of gear, which wasn't there at the start of the season. It's a new team, new players, new way of playing. But watching them and having a bit of solidity there, that's vital for us. And I'd have to give a hell of a lot of credit to all the guys stepping into centre back. In recent weeks, I think they've been outstanding. I
think also, Hector, what we're seeing is the familiarity with the system, and again, Postecoglou talked about that after the game. They've 6 months together now. They're starting to understand it. So the natural movement and the patterns that they obviously work on, it's becoming second nature to them. And I think with that, when the comfort comes, then the bravery can ratchet up too. So you're seeing them hit passes that you're thinking that's not really on. He's got two guys on him, but they're happy to hit the pass. The guy's happy to receive it. They don't panic. And the options that appear, and I listened to the commentator mention this a few times today, watching the match. Every Celtic player, when they have the ball, has multiple options. And that's coaching and patterns. And, the upward trajectory, the curve of how good we're becoming really, really quickly is actually really, really exciting. It's a little bit frightening, actually, to think he's done that in 6 months. What are we going to be like in another 12 months and another couple of transfer windows?
What has helped us, though, what did help us today, and probably a bit Thursday as well, is Dundee United kind of let us play. Yeah, they're not a clogger team. They're not a St Johnstone or a Livingston, right? They're not going to sit with 10 behind the ball. They, in the limited time they had, were trying to play football. So they left gaps for us. So it sort of suited us. What I'd like to see us do is when we next play the likes of St Johnstone and a Livingston, is I want to see that imposed in these teams. If we learn lessons, can we break these teams down now? I think for us that's the big test. Obviously we play them in the 2nd of January, but that's the big test for me. Take care of these teams who make it hard to beat. Yeah.
Break down the pack, that pack wall, absolutely, Hector. And I think again, patterns and personnel, a bit more pace isn't really going to change an awful lot when you're playing against 10 men camped in their own sort of box or their own half. But a bit more guile certainly would, and then a bit more time to work on a system. But I've said it in the last couple of podcasts we've done. It's just brilliant watching Celtic at the minute. It's just a joy.
So, Desi, can I ask you about a certain Callum McGregor today? What was your thoughts?
Yes. Well, before, okay, we'll come back to. I was going to say something. I noticed someone mentioned fear, etc. There, but yeah, Callum McGregor. That was it's amazing. It's Monty alluded to there. It's great. It's great joy to watch Celtic at the moment. But one of the problems you have is trying to decide who you think has been the best player. I mean, like, you see Roderick dance that goal and you see him cover. You see Turnbull miss chances and you shout at the TV, and then suddenly he produces that goal, and then the stats come up and you don't realise he's had like 10 passes in opposition for the last 20 yards. And suddenly you're like, wait a minute. And then, I mean, it's just, as you say, like the centre pairing, God bless Carter Vickers. That kind of, this what, but then every now and again, Callum McGregor just turns and passes or comes and collects it, and you suddenly realise he's the guy that holds everything together. Not why he does perfectly. He just keeps it ticking over, never loses the ball. This perfection, I think. And then he started like getting further up the park as the game opened up a lot more. Suddenly he didn't need to be so reserved. Your friend Beaton had come on to kind of stay back a wee bit.
What a pass for that third goal! God bless him.
Beaton.
Yeah.
The one was Abada chipped over the keeper and put it wide. Beaton was running inside him, just dying for the ball to be pulled back. And I was actually thinking, oh, Hector will be screaming at his TV. Basically, you could have gave that to Beaton there. But yeah, McGregor's just another level. And you can see why managers love him. You know, like, we've talked about this before about how kind of footballers are like the whole actors thing. They've got to be told exactly what needs to be done. They need to be given strict direction all the time. And you can just imagine Postecoglou saying to Callum McGregor, I want this, I want that, I want you to do exactly this. And he goes out and does it exactly every time. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Interesting.
But what I was going to ask you, Hector, is being at the game.
Sorry, Desi, I was just going to say on Callum McGregor. Interesting enough, it was just in the last week. It was, of all people, Lewis Ferguson of Aberdeen, wasn't it? Who, for those who don't know, it's ex-Rangers player Derek Ferguson's son. He commented on McGregor and said, in his opinion, he's the most underappreciated player that he's seen. He said he's got everything. And the Scotland squad with him now, just watching him, how he prepares, how he trains, how he plays, he goes, he's probably the best as far as he can see. So that's incredible praise from a young player like that, now making their way in the game, especially with his background, right? You think the last one he'd want to do is pick up a Celtic player, a Celtic captain. So it's just interesting, some of the insights from guys who get to see McGregor now and again as part of the Scotland squad. It's fascinating.
Let me throw a curveball at you. Would you sign Ferguson? Do you think he's better than what we have?
No good enough.
Do you not think so?
No.
Interesting. I think he'd make it at Celtic. I do. I actually think he'd gear up. I think
there was a time when it was maybe a possibility, but not now.
Yeah. You see,
I think we're looking wider than that now.
Possibly, and maybe looking for a different type of player, but I genuinely think he'd gear up.
A footballer.
All right.
Maybe under Lennon, Monty, but not under Postecoglou.
Do you not think he's not that type?
No.
I think it's not necessarily the player, but you hit on it there when you were talking about Turnbull, looking as though he was getting everything wrong. This team keeps going, and it's not just about scoring goals. If something doesn't work out, they just regroup and try something else, and try something else, and try something else. And it's a marked difference in the attitude from last season. When you could see the shoulders going down and players hiding. Whereas now, nobody's hiding. Everybody wants to be a part of it. And when you touched on the options there, they want to be an option, like Beaton running alongside for a cutback. Nobody wants to be left out. Now, that might be because they'll be left out, but it also might be that they're just actually enjoying being part of a professional setup instead of the pie and pint setup of last year.
We do allude a lot to this being a pie and pint setup from last year, but I have to say I don't completely agree. I don't think we were just.
Here we go, the old pals act. Here we go again. You're learning. Here we go. Right, move on, Desi. Move on.
Hold on.
Basically,
new brewery and learning.
We
A bit of free advertising, Paul John. Thank you. But yes,
Exactly,
they were too harsh
exactly what
on
did
him.
Neil Lennon inherit? No, what did Neil Lennon leave for Ange to inherit? He basically put the building blocks in. If we give him on to the rest of the hour, that should just be enough time.
Lennon put the building blocks in.
I think it's called sarcasm. There,
Exactly.
Ralph.
Yes.
Jesus, I thought it was me having a pint then.
But
So no,
but
what
here,
I was going to ask, Hector, being at the game on Thursday, there was quite a wee bit of tension in that second half. Did you know what I mean? And it was actually quite unusual because we've not really felt that. Like I know we'll say we've been gubbed with Leverkusen, etc. That was just kind of, you just shrugged your shoulders and go on. We waited for the 90 minutes. But the other night it was that whole we'd scored and then we're kind of hanging on a wee bit, and it was that wee kind of, there was that viable tension back in the game.
Yeah, but I think the team was unfortunate because to get 3 injuries is very unusual. Was it the first 60-65 minutes? It's really unusual, and that without a doubt disrupted the team. I know one or two of the guys had mentioned about a guy stepping in, and it's okay if you're doing that, I think, before the game when you prepare for it, but to actually make 3 changes during it was quite a tough one, especially with Jota's been dynamite for us for the last number of weeks. He was a big loss. Then Welsh, obviously, and then obviously Ralston set up the goal for Kyogo. So I think that disruption had a massive part to how we sort of fell a wee bit in the second half. But then we come back again, didn't we? I think the last 10 minutes we seemed to regroup, and actually we should have scored another couple of goals. The worrying thing against Hearts won minutes, right? But that header they missed for that corner, I mean, honest to God. And that was very similar to the first goal Leverkusen scored for the opposite kind of flank corner. Just an in-swinging corner to a space that the runner get a free run at it. And it appears to be the edge of the box. And you've got kind of 3 people going man-to-man. And all the opposition teams seem to be doing is block one of our defenders and they're getting a free run. That's bread and butter. And we've got to get that sorted. Because when we play the game in the second, trust me, I think we all know that. One thing, they're pretty decent at set pieces, right? So we've got to get that right.
Yeah. I think, Hector, you're seeing, I read a couple of quotes as well after the game that getting beyond players, you know, the ability to run past and get behind and turn defenses seems to have become a theme over the last couple of weeks. It looks like we're developing different patterns of play, most of which are all attacking based anyway. So you can see the overarching system that Ange's looking to put into play. You can see him building. So each week there's something new. There's something just as an addition. And I'm intrigued, given the dominance that we have and the amount. What's our corner count for the last 3 games? About 640.
It's crazy.
And we don't score from them. You know what I mean? So I'm looking at that going, fucking hell, there's a huge bank that we could be working on. And we're not deep in either box. We don't seem to be too clever on set pieces just yet. But maybe that's part of, you know, the next stage of what he does. You work for a month on something, then expect that that's now bread and butter for the player. And then, you know, something else, and just keep building a roadmap, continuous improvement. And he mentioned that multiple times today in his interview after the match. Talked about just getting better every day, continuously improving, just working on different things and getting better and better. So there's a theme there, tied back with the old Japanese business mentality, continuous improvement, Kaizen and all that great boring stuff, but we'll not do that today. We'll stay away from those things.
And saying that, Kyogo missed a sitter, didn't he? Was it the first 10 minutes from a set piece? When was it Mikey Johnson of all people? He got across to the front post and flicked. So they've worked in that. He flicked it on, and Kyogo, you'd say, you know, he should stick that in the back of the net, but he put it over the bar. So there is a couple of snippets going forward. I think, though, the challenge we've got is we don't have a tall team. You know, we've got the 2 centre backs, and even then, they're not like 6'5". Not like Chris Julian heights, right? They're about 6'1", 6'2", which for modern football is not the tallest. And we've got quite a small team. So, you know, unless we add more height to it, then I think it'll be a struggle. It's just one of those things, isn't it? Yeah.
And I don't think that big sort of, you know, athletic footballer type, I don't think we're going to see that. We talked about this, I think, in one of our own chats, that sort of technician, really comfortable with the ball, fast, nippy, that sort of Man City type mold of a footballer. You look at them, like their front 3. I was probably fucking tall as them the other night. You know, you had Sterling, Foden, and I can't remember the other one playing the other. There's 3. Jack Grealish, I think he's 5'10" maximum. So the notion of a big sort of team, and you look at the way City play, could well be a template that we're building to. So we could end up with a small team by and large, but at that pace and at that speed, and you look at how we dominated the first half against Hearts and how we dominated for 90 minutes today. It's just, if a team can start like that and continue at that pace and have that mental agility as well as that pressure, it must be a fucking nightmare to play against. And domestically, we should dominate with a team, irrespective of how big. We're completely the opposite of O'Neill's, just big lads who dominate. This is dominating, I think, with a system and with brain and with speed. And it's fucking great to watch. I've said that about 10 times already.
So, Ralph, just back in Thursday's game then, right? Robbie Nielsen's comments, or what he said he couldn't say for fear of being up in front of the beaks, the SFA. What was your take in Robbie Nielsen? Do you have any sympathy with Robbie Nielsen, Ralph?
Well, I thought, if you cast your mind back to the first game of the season, when we had a goal chalked off that was clearly onside, and we didn't get all this fuss and all this kerfuffle, and nobody asked Robbie Nielsen if he felt a wee bit lucky that he got the decision that saved them a point or whatever it was back then. It's all designed to try and get a certain narrative across, and that narrative is that we're getting as many breaks as what anybody else might be, which is clearly nonsense. But when Robbie Nielsen says what he wants to say, that makes the headlines, and he's not going to get censored because he's not actually said anything, but he's fanned the flames of debate, as it were. Which means everybody can come in and say the goal was offside and we're as lucky as they are. And they're getting them in early, I think, because towards the end of the season there's going to be some absolutely ridiculous decisions going the other way.
I think he's
a guy that's managing a team. Go on. But I'm just saying, if John Del Thomason knows that their skin, everybody knows their skin, and that's why nobody's talking about it.
I think his biggest bugbear, right, for me, watching it back, and I actually think it was related to, of all things, see Mackay Stevens was running through edge of our penalty area, and he fell over. Now in real time, he fell over. There's a bundle of players round about him, and apparently he was going off his nut at that moment because he thought he's ready to shoot. He's running straight through to shoot, and he just suddenly fell over. He's thought he's been tripped up. And I think I'd love someone from the BBC, Don't Laugh, or whoever, to go back and say, actually, did you watch that back and see he actually tripped over his own legs? Because he apparently was going furious at that moment, and I think that was the bit that tipped him over the edge. So it'd be interesting if somebody could go back. But as you know, the Scottish media, they don't do these things. They don't do follow-up questions. They've got a narrative, as you said there, Ralph, and they're happy to run with it for the rest of this season, right? On
the subject of media, do we dare talk about he who Monster Munch and his incredibly terrible punditry is attempted being Chris Sutton and failing miserably, Chris Boyd? Do we bother, or is he just noise? Is he just to be ignored? Is he just a fool?
Well,
again, he's there as he's like an inflammatory character that's going to get people commenting on him. He knows nothing about foot. He sat there, did he not, and said that was definitely offside and this is ridiculous, we need VAR. The rules are perfectly simple. You can't be offside if you're behind the ball when it's played. It doesn't matter how many players or where they are or whatever. That's the basic rules. And if you're going to make a living commenting, then you need to know that.
But Ralph, the reason for him doing that, right? Let's step back 24 hours when they played away to Hibs, and it had nothing each. It was a dreadful, dreadful game of football. It was nothing each. It was about 8 minutes to go, and was it who's the Ryan Kent inside the box? The Hibs boy Porteous. Hibs boy Porteous left his leg out, right? Left his leg out, similar to Bates against Celtic. Bates with Abada last Saturday at Celtic Park against Aberdeen, and Porteous stupidly left his leg out. And Kent seen an opportunity, as a lot of professional players do. Hey, let's just as they do, and he took the chance to jump and make sure he hit that leg at the penalty. It was a dive, but it was a calculated dive based upon him, and that's where Boyd came from, Ralph, because he knew the focus was on him getting yet another penalty from Brother Beaton, and lo and behold, the next night a wee sniffy Celtic in a decision became the story in town, and that's all it's about.
And he used that phrase. He used that phrase multiple times about Celtic getting, and he was trying to make it jokey. It was like kind of snide banter, and you're thinking, that guy's a prick. You talk about Celtic benefiting from referees again.
Oh, there's a sweepstake. There's a sweary word. To be fair, it was Boyd, so you can't help it.
And Petrov's just blanking on like, get away from me, useless.
Well, if you go back earlier in the season, did Motherwell not concede a late winner to Morales that was offside and a mile offside.
It's Sakala or
You know,
somebody, a mile offside. It was a guy, Sakala. Might even have been an equaliser to get them a point. But
Well, mind you, having said that, there's one or two occasions. No, I'm sure it was Morales who stood between the goalkeeper and the defender as the balls come across to him, and he scored. And of course, it's not been ruled out. It's not been up for debate. It's not even an incident worth commenting on as far as our media is concerned.
But interesting,
Monty,
as the season goes on, there'll be more of that.
You hit the nail on the head, Monty, though, right? The thing with Boyd is he's trying to badly. He's trying to replicate what Sutton does, but the major difference between Sutton and Boyd is Sutton's intelligent. Boyd's thick as fucking 2 planks of wood.
He can't spell his fucking name.
And the problem is he is like a 10-year-old spitting the dummy out, and ain't nonsense. And that's the problem with guys like that. See if you get something you can articulate and say, actually, look, that looked pretty soft to me. But it doesn't like somebody you see, some bampot in a pub who's been swelling all day since the pub opened at 11 o'clock in the morning, right? He's stoating at 8 o'clock at night, and there he is in the corner, slabbing into his pint. Nobody talking to him. He's like that guy in the telly that does that. So I think he should be pitied rather than scorned, because if we keep doing what we're doing, come April, come May, and hopefully we take care of business, the joy we'll get towards the end of the season will be worth every single second.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Yeah,
I'm back on for now, at least. But this talking about Chris Boyd, it was the aspect today of I've seen a few folk on Twitter saying, please don't give him the kind of sense of actual recognition with Celtic fans singing, blah, blah, blah. And then he starts that joking, oh, I'm an orange today, I thought I was blue and all that. But again, he's trying to make that wee media personality. He's clearly no got any personality. No, he's trying to be that the alternative to Chris Sutton, where he's not got that natural sense of humour or even kind of self-effacing look at life. And it's just embarrassing. But even seeing him as Hector, you put up a cracking tweet. I don't know if anyone saw it on the TIMS net Twitter feed, and it was the wee rabbit from Secret Life of Pets, and it was basically Chris Boyd when staring at Sean Maloney explain tactics, and it was just his wee confused rabbit's face. And that is some.
Well, Sean Maloney, who, as you know, is the assistant coach manager with Belgium, with Roberto Martinez and that fantastic Belgium team. He's a highly respected coach, Maloney. So half time he's talking about the examples, and it showed you Celtic's defence, the high line, how they were working in unison together, how they were squeezing the play, then stepping back as a unit. And they went through this bit by bit, and it was actually, I think football fans like that. Don't blind folk with science. Just take them through examples, and I actually think most football fans appreciate that. And the camera was on Boyd, and they had that look of a gormless fanny, which as we all know it kind of is, right? Just looking up into space, thinking, blah. And that's what you're dealing with. So I'm of the group. I'm of the opinion. Just let him be. What goes around comes around, and hopefully it will later on this season, right?
Right. Talking about what goes around comes around, right? And we're talking about Chris Boyd here, but so again he's trying to fan his own flames of publicity, and again Sky Sports will be loving it because there's no such thing as bad publicity. There's someone else who also tries to be that Mr. Controversial. It's Hugh Keevins, right? And I know everybody's just sighing when I'm saying this, but you have to ask yourself, really, at his age in life, does he really need the hassle, etc., to generate such kind of feelings? His latest piece in the Daily Record, Hugh Keevins said, Giovanni Van Bronckhorst, listen to that, this is classic brown brogues. Giovanni Van Bronckhorst cuts a distinguished figure, but with an assassin's heart underneath his cool exterior. And the best bit, and Celtic are already wounded, right? So I thought that was bad enough, and I was saying, but actually,
what's he talking about?
But then I went on to the Daily Record website.
He doesn't know himself.
And this is even worse. So wait here, this is even worse. This is Hugh Keevins' piece in the record. We await the manager, Tommy Van Bronckhorst. We await the manager's input in that regards Morelos, right? And getting the last word is another Dutch trait. It's, by the way, the racism in this article is this underlying, I would say the word is right. Rangers Rangers, meanwhile, can sit back and see if Tannadice can further their ambition to win the title and inherit the riches of the Champions League next season by beating Celtic to the crown. Listen to this. This is the ground that will forever be remembered as the place where the Hoops couldn't score a goal and Rangers stopped 10 in a row without having to kick a ball. If Ange Postecoglou can't overcome injuries, players wearing under the weight of their schedule, and the Dundee United side who almost beat them at Celtic Park earlier this season, Van Bronckhorst certainly surrounding himself and those around him this season, Van Bronckhorst's certainty surrounding himself and those around him will intensify. So it's nice to know. So talking about what goes around comes around. I'm looking forward to this article coming back out in about 5 months and seeing what Hugh Evans thinks.
It does. It's a buzz for him. See, like you see guys on Twitter, right, who throw out a line just to get a bite. And although he's an old fart and everything else, right, we know that. And by the way, he's no mug, right? He's actually quite an intelligent guy, which makes you know he's doing it deliberately. It always has done. I think guys like him step back for a few weeks, then it's like a bug, isn't it? It's like a junkie getting a fix. They'll go and push it again. And that's what he does. I would put in the same bucket as ignore. And we revisit at the end of the season, right? Of
course. But it's just, I think it's always just nice to remember these things. The same lines of I was at the game the other night, and somebody said to me, "You must always remember." And this kind of goes back to Ange's first press conference. Remember when one guy gets slagged for actually telling Ange, "Those people upstairs, the media, are not your friend. The officials are not your friend." And people actually dared criticise that. Well, it was the best thing that you could be told. Because when I sat in the stand the other night was the first time I've seen Ange physically angry and annoyed, actually reacting to a referee and his linesman being so incompetent. Yeah. And then the day post game, I don't know if you saw the coverage where Ange going up to the fans, and you know, it seems as though it's getting more intense and more. We are all in this together. You know that feeling?
But Desi, how far would Ange have been from that assault on David Turnbull on that touchline? And for those who haven't seen it, and listen, we're all over Twitter, whatever now, right? Of all the guys, a guy who've come on for United, they've all aptly named Butcher. No relation to Terry, but Turnbull just touched it past him. The guy launched everything through the ball, and he studs his boot on Turnbull's the left of his kind of shin, next to his shin. A straight red in any form of football, from the top level down to amateur, a straight red. And there's the referee, Don Robertson. And he paused for a few seconds, made me think he's maybe trying to get a word in the ear from his fourth official or something. He paused 5 seconds, I'm thinking, this is a red, a yellow card. And that's just a pause. So I think Ange, that'd be part of it. He wouldn't be standing too far from that on that touchline. He must have seen that and thought, what the fuck's going on here in this country?
Yeah. But there'd already been about 4 Dundee United to bring me. Tom Boyd was a joy to listen to in Celtic TV. Some of his, when he just questions it, as in, I can't believe how's that not a yellow? Why is that not a yellow? The amount of times Dundee United did not get yellow cards. And Ralph always highlights this in the diary. A lot of times you'll find that Celtic maybe get 3 cards in the first 20 minutes of a game, whereas the opposition will maybe get 3 cards in the last 10 minutes.
That's 15 minutes done. Aye.
You know what I mean? So it looks so in a stat world, it looks perfectly fine. It's very even, but it turns out Celtic players have been playing under a shadow of uncertainty.
Here's the thing, Desi. Here's the thing, and we had it in our WhatsApp group after Boyd's rant on Thursday night or whenever it was about VAR. Does VAR remove this now? And is VAR genuinely going to come in next season? I believe it is.
It is. VAR light. I have it in very good authority. VAR light will be in. We won't have a full VAR. So a guy with a Betamax camera at the pitch side.
Look, a guy with a spotter on a blimp. But VAR removes the incompetence layer, right? VAR.
It depends who's looking at the cameras and making the decision.
That's what
if you get beaten in Madden, what in the cameras?
Yeah, so VAR still doesn't remove the last piece of the puzzle. It removes the incompetence. So, that thing today, red card, without a doubt. That was an assault. That was a leg-breaking tackle. It wasn't badly timed. It was nothing. It was shin, studs the shin directly, full force, straight through. Got up. He knew exactly what he was doing. Thursday night's goal may or may not have stood. Probably wouldn't. Borderline offside. The penalty, I think Kent would have got a yellow card for diving on that. So you have a whole series of incidents this week, all of which have, potential plus or minus outcomes in terms of a championship. And I think all 3 of those key things that I just mentioned VAR would have overturned the outcome. So that rules out the notion of them all just being shit refs. So a ref can make a mistake. But how do you get past that other bit then, to your point, Ralph? So if it's still Brother Beaton and fucking Bobby Madden up doing the camera back at base, nothing wrong with that. How do you get over that?
At a bar, working it from a bar in Bells Hill. Yeah. It's not going to take off. There's other wee complications to it, because if you're going to have something like that and run a league of 4 divisions or however many, plus the ones below it, they've all got to have it. You can't go in a cup match. We've got Alloa away in the cup, have we not? Yeah. Would they have the VAR installed just for us? Does that mean we're getting a different treatment from other teams?
It's just a league. Is it next season? Just the top division, Ralph?
Just the top division.
Yeah.
So it'll be an interesting one, because I think I mentioned it in our WhatsApp. It's kind of one of those, be careful what you wish for, because and I thought this one through during the week. I wonder if the bigger game, because we all love to put 2 and 2 together and come up with 4 or 5. The bigger picture here, what's the best thing for Scottish football if you're the SFA? You've said it consistently, Scottish football needs a strong Rangers. How do you keep that entity alive, even though it's not Rangers? You can't financially dope them anymore, because they're soon going to break financial fair play. But you can keep them alive if they get that Champions League money. And I'm wondering, is that the game? Keep them alive. And everything to get them over.
And you're keeping them alive with this constant argument between Celtic and Rangers, and you're keeping this old firm brand and narrative going. You're keeping we need that game, we need to have this 2-horse race, and the rest of Scottish football's clinging on, and they ought to be ashamed of themselves as well.
But if you're sorry, Hector, just a very, very quick one. This is the thing, though. If you're an administrator of Scottish football, irrespective of what team you support, if you're an administrator of Scottish football, what's the best thing for Scottish football?
Transparency, honesty, integrity, a level playing field.
Yes, we would say that. Absolutely.
We would say that because we'd probably win. But the ones that don't like transparency and honesty, they're the ones that are holding all the cards.
And that's
and because of what they've done in the past, they don't want to clean it up, because then that would shine a light on what's happened before.
Yeah. So VAR going forward maybe cleans it up a bit.
Yeah. But the same question for Daisy, my question for Daisy, because Daisy, as we all know, is our man in the the SFA. He's got contacts in amongst the brotherhood. So Daisy, you can maybe tell our listener, hello there. You could tell our listener about who is the Scottish official. Who is the Scottish official that's currently qualified to work VAR?
I believe I was just thinking this. I believe it is Willie Collum as our highest qualified VAR official, but I'd say 99% Willie Collum, 1% Bobby Madden, but I'm pretty sure it is Willie Collum who will be leading the whole VAR. I think who is the English referee? The English referee,
Howard Webb.
Howard Webb. I think he was up getting a talk recently about it and how hopefully they see it working, but it will be VAR light. We are not having a full VAR that you see in the English Premiership with a truck station somewhere and an automatic feed and basically multi-cameras, etc. I'm joking about a guy with a Betamax camera, but it will be the equivalent of that, really. Let's all pause and go for pies while the guy tries to remember how to work.
10 minutes for an offside call.
2 guys on each side of the pitch holding a bit of string.
Right, so I'm just informed by John Paul. First of all, I'd just like to remind everyone who's watching and listening, thanks very much again. But please try and remember to donate whatever you can, possible. Every penny helps for this great cause, trying to raise money for St Mary's and the Carlton and St Alphonsus.
Wait a minute, why are Celtic no fucking doing that?
Well,
why are the club not looking after St Mary's?
Exactly. This is a great question, isn't it? It's very handy. If we want to do, we're trying to keep this light, but we could probably.
Could the council not call it a place of historical interest or something?
Significant. UNESCO would probably be interested. UNESCO would probably not be interested, but that's another organisation altogether.
Talk about Huns, Daisy. We've got some Hun lines.
No, but I've also been told. So before we come on to the Hun lines, anybody who knows TIMS site, we normally rather than the fans phoning in the hotline, we have the Hun line. So we'll come to that in a second. But we've been told by John Paul that we need to cut our shot. Our I tried to that quick. Our
Well, no, cut it short if you don't say it.
Exactly, so the gig pod guys can come on. So so we're going to come on to the hotlines then. So Hector, I'll let you kick off, and this is your equivalent of the standard fans hotline, and you get a daily record.
Well, we got this one out. It says, "Dear E-Tims, I looked on in horror as vagabonds, waifs and strays through empty plastic bottles at those Liverpool Hearts players as they were about to take corners on Thursday night. Don't they know one of the Hearts players could have lost an eye on his back, or even worse, led to a leg amputation. It would never happen on my watch." And that's from Mr. B. Higgins in Glasgow. Desi.
Well, that's interesting you say, because I've got one here, something you just touched on there, and it says, "Raise money for Acsom, humbug," and that's from a Mr. Ebenezer Desmond of Sandy Lane, Barbados.
Wow, this other one's come in. It's an interesting one. It's quite difficult. I don't think they're the best of spellers here, so let me just bear with me. "Dear E-Tims, Kyogo was 10 yards offside when he scored. Yet another thing goes Tim's way. The SFA's full of Fenians. It must stop now." And that's from a crazy, with a K, Crazy Boyd in Ayrshire, that one.
Crazy Boyd. Well, I've actually got one from a Chris Boyd who's at a Tannadice, and he said here, "If I wrap myself up in a big daft scarf, it helps me look cultured. At least I think that's what Sean Maloney said to me." So I'm not really sure about that.
and the last one I've got here, Desi, again it goes, "Dear E-Tims," the last one here, it goes, "Football and politics, and it's about time the Celtic supporters realise that. Kind regards from all the Tories and Labour politicians in the Celtic boardroom."
Right, so I've got a couple here. We'll finish with here. Right, I've got one from Monty. I can't do the accent, so I wouldn't try to upset anybody here. But I've just got, "It's a Christmas miracle, so it is." And that's from a Master Liam Scales, who's now apparently on Santa's nice boy list. so that was good. And then I've got a, "Do I look happy? Does my side look settled?" from a Mr. A. Postacoglu of Glasgow brackets. And then I've got here, now, okay, I think we should maybe end with this one, especially for Hector. And if anybody follows us on Twitter, they'll know Hector's views on certain people out there in Celtic Timnet. And it is a beautiful Tannadice today, a beautiful Messi like goal from Tom Rodgick, a wonderful touch spin and finish from David Turnbull, and a lovely slot home from Scales for his debut goal. But enough about that nonsense. Let's concentrate on goals that didn't actually go in or even exist. And that's from the 500 odd Celtic analysts out there on the internet. So that's one for you.
God bless them all. God bless them. Every single
Well,
one.
to be fair, I don't know which one of you fell out with one of the guys, but he did tell us that the website looked like something from 1999, and he was right.
It caused me to crash it. When I tried to update it caused me to crash the website. Right,
no,
so
listen, to be fair, there's some of the guys.
I think the orange logo is a classy touch.
Some of the guys are good.
6 minutes left. So for the last 6 minutes, I wanted to try and quickly crash. I had a quiz prepared for this in case we were going to do something different. So we'll quickly run through, right? It was going to be the old snooker hoopy idea, pot of red, then going to colours. So we'll quickly try and rattle through it. You can just give the answers as a team, right, rather than individual.
Is this the Dave Lee Travis thing from like 1976?
Dave Lee anymore. So we'll just take it to the John Paul show, right? So
you do realise after 55 minutes his name's Paul John, does he? Yeah.
Right. Oh yeah. Okay. Spade. We're getting some advertising in for Spade Town Brewery. Lovely work there, Monty. Right. He's ready. Right. Ralph, you may know the answer to this. Which day of the week was May the 25th, 1967?
Tuesday.
A Wednesday, a Thursday, or a Friday? Quick.
Friday. Friday.
Ralph, anybody? What's your first
Thursday.
Thursday, correct. Well done. Okay, very good. Okay, so now we're moving on to scores and the doors. Which Celtic forward scored our first Europa Group goal this season?
Against.
And that's the
first game was away to Betis, wasn't it? Wasn't he a Jetty? Was it?
It was well done, Ayeti and
Yeah.
Betis. Well done. So also, I was also going to ask you to name certain players from countries. Can you give me 2 Celtic players from Norway? And this in the lifetime of Celtic?
Johansson.
Reset.
Johansson.
Reset
Harold
and
Blanc.
Johansson.
Very
Yeah.
good, very recent. Okay, moving on. Give me 3 from Australia.
Rogic, Daniel Arzani, and
McDonald.
Well done.
Who's
Yes,
Tommy
we
Donald, yeah.
also had Jackson Irvine, and a good shout out, and thanks to the Celtic Wiki, obviously, for this. We also had Dan Lavery, 1948-49. Right, okay.
That was the one I was thinking of, aye.
Okay, here's one for Ralph, who used to be the pilot of the Taria Carrier. Ralph, can you name any of the figures in the Celtic Park postcode? Bar G. G's a given. Can you give me any figures or numbers? Or characters?
42? 4. A 4.
Well done. G403RE. Well done. That's very good. Okay, here's a quick question. You can shout out as many answers as you like here. Can you give me 4 teams who have contested a Scottish Cup final played at Celtic Park?
St John's.
Hearts.
Yep, Hearts, yep. St.
Aberdeen.
Johnstone, yep.
Aberdeen.
Old Rangers.
Old Rangers.
Dundee United.
Yep, correct. Nathan said Celtic, surprisingly. I thought you might have said Celtic. But there's loads there.
Did they let us have a home game in a cup final?
Alright, yep.
Did they let us have a home game?
Okay, here's one for
Wow.
Hector. Here's one for Hector. Gerard Eadie ran the first company to sponsor the Celtic jersey in 1984. Which company?
C.R. Smith.
Well done, very good. Okay, so now we've got a few minutes left. We'll move on to oldest or youngest. Who is older, Ralph? Ronnie Delia or Brendan Rodgers?
Rogers.
Rodgers is
Or Delia.
48. Delia is 46. Well done. Okay, Monty. Who is older, Per Van Hooijdonk or George Cadetti?
Van Hooijdonk.
Per Van Hooijdonk is 53. George Cadetti. Per Van Hooijdonk is 52. George Cadetti is 53.
No
Well, that was
way.
a failure there. And then we move on. Okay, one. This either or for you, Hector. Who was the oldest out of Jock Stein or Sean Fallon?
Sean Fallon.
Jock Stein. They were both born in the same year. Jock Stein was born in October, and Sean Fallon was born in July. So that was correct. Okay, so now 6 players. Give me 6 players from Sweden who have played for Celtic.
Henrik Mjällby.
Larson, Mjällby, Lustig,
Starfelt.
Yep.
Starfelt.
The keeper. Who's the keeper with the fantastic looking wife?
Hellstrom. No, Hellstrom.
That's the one I was waiting on.
Thomas Gravitson. Tommy Gravitson and...
No, Gravison's no
Was he?
Swedish.
That's nearly Sweden.
That was dead.
Okay, you could have Magnus Hedman. God bless him.
Edmund.
That's what I said.
That's
I
him.
know, I'm
Not
just saying.
Hellstrom, Hedman.
Big Daniel Masterovic.
Master
Oh,
Overcharge.
again, I apologize
Centre
for
half.
gambling the pronunciations.
Start.
Freddie Lundberg, one of your
Oh,
favourites, Ralph.
I forgot
Oh, he
about him.
doesn't count. He doesn't count.
And of course, John Guidetti. Remember him, John Guidetti?
Right enough.
Oh,
Okay.
it's a ball in the netty.
Okay, here's a wee quick,
Well, whatever
quick
happened
question.
to him.
Here, a quick question for Hector, the music man. Gil Scott Heron's dad played for us. But which Caribbean country did he play for?
Oh, was it Jamaica?
Correct. Well done. Well done. Okay, so final question. Name 7 players from the Netherlands.
Who played for Celtic or just any 7?
Celtic.
That one, Edson Braafheid.
Well,
The one that played in the World Cup final.
Bobby
Braafheid.
Petta. Bobby Petta.
Virgil
Yep.
van Dijk.
Yep.
Bert Konterman.
Correct.
He was a decent asset for us.
Yeah,
All
there was
right.
one
Pierre
for
van
Castlemont.
Hooijdonk.
One for Castlemont.
Jim Vinegar at Castlemont.
Big Jim Vinegar.
Who was the guy that was always injured? The winger.
Remember
The winger
him?
that played about 2 games.
Evander
What's
Snow.
his name?
Dirk
Evander Snow.
Borictor. Borictor's the one.
Okay, you could have Doris de Vries, God bless him. Big
Oh,
Virgil. Dirk Writer. Josh Hoyvent. Glenn Liggins.
Yeah.
Big Pierre. Bobby Petter. Evander Snow. So that's it. So I think that's
Reggie
it.
Blinker.
Thanks very much, everyone, for listening and watching our ranting.
And donate as much as you
enjoyed
can.
We're available at etims.net. Ralph's diary will be up daily, and then look out for our podcast too. hopefully you can contribute whatever you can. It's very much appreciated, especially the great work John Paul and all the Acsom people are putting in. Coming up after us, we have the Gig Pod guys, so hopefully they'll entertain you and you can enjoy.
Quick shout out to Desi for John Paul's hair, still looking exceptional.
Oh,
it was superb last year. It's looking even better this year.
And this is the second year we have done this great event, and we still haven't had an answer to the question: is it John
Housewife's favourite? 2 years running.
You know what I mean? We still don't know if it's Paul John or John Paul, so he'll forever be John Paul in our eyes.
It's an East Coast thing, Desi, isn't it? They're too embarrassed in East Coast, isn't it? They go Paul John, don't they?
That's I mean, East Coast. You've got to watch the East Coasters. So again, let me check. I did have another question for Hector, especially music-wise. Hector, can you name any bands or artists that have headlined at Celtic Park for a music concert?
The Who.
Yeah.
U2.
Any band will do.
The Who and U2.
Yep. Oh, come on, you try to tell me you were not at Wet, Wet, Wet.
Oh, fuck
no. I actually went to the U2 gig and with, what do you call them? I'll come back to it. Was it second night, Sunday night? I can't, it'll come back to me. It was really good. Utah Saints, what a band they were.
That's right, you were the man. I was there, the Zooropa. U2, Wet, Wet, Wet.
See what we're killing.
I went to the Finns gig too, and Brian Adams has also done it.
See what we're killing time to get kicked off, right? I don't know if that's happening any minute now. What about Thursday night with Betis? Quickly, should we play the B team in effect because we're through and save the players?
No, keep doing what we're doing. Keep doing what we're doing. It's not broken if you don't fix it. Don't break momentum.
Lawwell, who runs the Disco Lights, he's the only guy who actually cares about that game because Mr. Lawwell gets to put his disco lights on. I mean, for everyone to enjoy. That's how it works.
You know what? From down here, their lights look impressive. You shouldn't mock them. It looks impressive for people that aren't used to them.
And how many
it's a nice wee touch.
Turn up for the cup final? More than 20 or less than 20? Because I think that's one big game, isn't it? Realistic.
I'd rather be playing them. Hibs have got a couple of quick forwards. That might not be as straightforward as we think. But it'd be nice to get a trophy. And
what date's the cup final?
That would be a great time.
19th, yeah. 19th. 2 weeks today. Yep.
That's such a huge thing.
I'm looking forward to it. I fancy it.
Aye, me too. I think
the way Hibs play suits us. I think they're an open team, and I think that will suit us. So I'm looking forward to it.
And it's one of those ones too, Hector, as a statement. You know, I love the little Barb. You know, he doesn't get 3 years to win a trophy. I love the fact that he said that.
See if Ryan Porteous gets sent off the week before, will that be him banned for the League Cup final?
Don't think so, unless it's straight
only if it's violent conduct. I think the only thing they did be wrong. I think violent conduct.
I'm sorry, I'm just wondering what the next evening up thing will be. You know, when they get the breaks and we get the breaks, maybe that'll be it. Maybe they've got their whole team sent off.
Well, we've got Betis on Thursday, right? Then next Sunday we're at home to Motherwell in the league. Then the Wednesday we're away to Ross County. Then it's a cup final. So I think we've spoke before. Just take care of business, right? Just head down, get the 3 points. Just keep going in the background, get the 3 points. That's all it's about for us, I think, just now.
Here's a quick historical question for you while we're waiting and getting kicked off. Which Glasgow side was the first to inflict Celtic's first defeat?
Third Lanark?
Queen's Park.
Clyde.
Did you say Clyde there? Well done. Well, Clyde beat us in only our 4th game. Well done. And then a recent event. Which team did David Turnbull score a hat trick against?
Fuck.
No. Who did we beat 6-0?
Dundee.
No.
Dundee.
St Mirren.
St Mirren.
Well done, St Mirren. There you go. So that was it. So again, folks, as I said, thanks very much for listening. Our podcast is usually on maybe once a fortnight stroke, once a month stroke, once every 2 months, depending on how busy Monty and Spadetown Brewery. There's another plug for you.
I got embarrassed thinking about that on. Sorry.
So hopefully you can catch that when you can. It's up on etims.net if and when I don't break the site anymore. Hopefully it has now been updated to be a little bit less 1998 than it was before. But God only knows how long it will last. So realistically, we played the 3rd and the 4th. This is we're running down the clock. We played the 3rd and the 4th this week. But realistically, it's all aiming towards being a big showdown on January 2nd, isn't it? Is it a must-win game, January 2nd?
No.
I think so.
There's still a bit of football to be played between now and then.
Remember, we said at the start of the season, the new team that Ange's got, right? If we get to the new year within 6 points, and then we get the break and new players come in, I would, no, it's no must win. Well, it's a must win if we're 8 points behind, come to that match. But if it's currently 4, no, it's no must win.
I'm not sure, because we were talking about this at the game the other night, Thursday, and I was saying, well, I think it is. It'd be good if they could draw, and then it'd be a case that we win that and we overtake them. No, that would you're really putting a marker down at that point. But it'll be interesting the fact that they probably don't think they'll need to win it. So it'll be interesting to see what Super Gio, the assassin, what tactics does he go with? Does he go?
Well, here we go, Daisy. Well, we're at Hope Motherwell next Sunday, right? And then in the Wednesday, we're away to Ross County. That's 2 league games. Then it's the cup game. Then the following Wednesday, 22nd, we're away to St Mirren. Then St Stephen's Day, we're away to St Johnstone. And then the Wednesday, we're at home to Hibs. I mean, that's a hell of a run of games, right?
Do they have a game? You know, when we've got a League Cup final, have they got a game that weekend? Because if they have, then there's a possibility then they'll be 7 points ahead when they play us.
We're playing the 22nd, Ralph. They've put in their game as St Mirren was due to be that weekend. They're now making that the Wednesday, the 22nd. So I take it Celtic must have said, let's get it done. So
that's why I think the game in the new year, irrespective, is a must-win, because that momentum, that notion of keeping your nose ahead, the fixtures are very much laid out for them to do that and have been for quite some time. Especially if you even look at last year, it's that notion of getting momentum, getting far ahead, and the pressure tends to sit with the person trying to catch. So I think I totally agree, Hector. We've said consistently from the start of the season, be in touch just at the turn of the year. We know we're going to strengthen. It looks like those deals are done for 2, maybe 3 players out of Japan. But be ready. But I think if we can just flick that momentum, there's no reason why we can't. The way we're playing at the minute, our attacking prowess, and we'll have another 4 weeks.
Monty, I'm not for 1 second. Hold on a minute. I'm not for 1 second saying they're fear. Absolutely not. If we play our best, I think we'll beat them. But the question was, do we have to? I don't think we do have to. Do I think we will beat them if our players are all fit and play well? I think we'll beat them by a couple of goals. But we don't have to win the game.
It's such a blow. It's the psychological blow.
Is there a break after it?
Yeah, 3 weeks.
See, if there's a break after it and we've beaten them, that'll put doubt in their mind. If they beat us before a break, it'll put doubt in our mind. So maybe from that point of view, it's a wee bit more important than just the result, because of the effect it'll have on confidence and so on.
And the thing also that I think works hugely in our favour, although you can argue the same toss for them with a new manager, it's 3 weeks where Postecoglou gets to work on his ideas with the squad with no interruptions. So we'll get better in those 3 weeks. Now, arguably, so will they, because they have a new coaching team, a new management team in. So I think it's one that we just fucking. I wouldn't care if it's the scrappiest 1-0. Wouldn't care, but just make the statement, and then strengthen from a position of strength. We've just laid a blow on them, hire some players, get some new players in, get some of the deadwood out. And now you're into huge momentum. And I think our next sequence of fixtures, the way it falls, I think we've a lot of home fixtures, which would traditionally be, versus the away fixture. We've had a lot of them out of the way now. And interestingly, another stat we got today, we won 5 on the bounce away from home. So it looks like the system's bedding in and we're imposing ourselves all the way through. So, but 2 weeks time, win a trophy, be nice. Stay in touch New Year and turn them over. That's a nice Christmas list for Santa for me.
Yeah,
that would be the target, wouldn't it? That would be the target. That's what we said earlier in the year on the podcast. That's where we wanted to be in January, and it looks like we're heading that way.
But I think I believe is it Gig Pod we're due to be up after us?
Yep.
I'm wondering, has the childcare not turned up?
I was just going to say, I've got some breaking news, hotline style, and it says here, Glasgow City Council are pleased to announce that with the £200 made from fining the Celtic food bank vans at Celtic Park last week, the council have finally been able to repair the damage to one of the benches destroyed in George Square by celebrating Rangers fans. And that's from a Ms. Susan Aitken, Glasgow Suicide. So that's nice. Eh? That's good news. Good to know something.
I've had a pledge.
Negative.
I've had a pledge with some money. It's from a guy called Stephen down in Birmingham, and he says as soon as the money for his constructive dismissal claim comes through, he'll send a few quid that way.
Excellent. So again, I think we're good to wrap up here. So again, folks, thanks very much for listening. Please donate what you can, and again, thanks from us all, TIMS, to Paul, John, and all the people at Acsom for asking us to be part of this. All right, you've been TIMS. Thanks very much for watching. Good night.